morning, everybody. Crafting Journey here, that journey chick over on Instagram. Welcome to my journey into watercoloring. This is number 2, beginner's watercoloring. I just want to start this out by saying, first of all, please hit the like button. He gets abused a lot on my channel, and for some reason hitting him makes him feel better, so please hit the like button. He will take the abuse well, I promise you. And subscribe if you enjoy the content of the channel. And don't forget the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of Crafting and Crime Daily. Now, I do want to just say very quickly that the Crafting and Crime Daily is for when I have the not recovering from knee surgery, which is what I'm doing right now. So what are the tools that you are going to need for today? You're going to need some paintbrushes. That would help, right? I purchased this Princeton Neptune. It's called Our Thirstiest Brush Watercolor. It has Acquaero 3/4, round 4, round 12, and an oval brush and half it. So this is kind of a good starter kit from what I understand for brushes. But I will tell you a little secret. I ordered some more brushes. And this is what I'm using for my starter pack for watercolor paints. This is called Watercolor Collections by Art Philosophy, and it's the classic. So it just has your classic colors in here. So this is what I'm going to use today on part 2. So when you open it up, it has this beautiful little 10 that says the classics. And you, what I did first, when I first got it in part 1, you'll see that I have thoroughly swatched this thing out. So here's the colors that you get in this little canister. And of course you can make lots of other colors by blending them. And then it has this beautiful metal palette, so you can mix your colors in the palette. These are not gels. These are just regular palette colors. I don't think I'm good enough to get into gels at this point. I don't want to waste a lot of paint. And this is a good little starter set. So what I did in part 1 was I worked on a technique called on dry, and that's where you paint on a dry piece of paper. And of course I did forget to leave out that you're going to need watercolor paper. I have a couple of different kinds. One of the kinds that I have is this Arteza 32 sheets watercolor pad. It is 140 pounds. You don't want to go any lighter than 140 pounds. In fact, you could go higher, maybe even to the 160s range, but don't go any lower than 140 pounds, because then your watercolors are going to leak into the pages behind it. So there's your watercolor paper. So in lesson 1, I swatched out on the dry paper. I swatched out each color to kind of get an idea of what the gradients I could get with these colors. Now I haven't mixed any of the colors together yet, so that's going to be something we're going to play around with today on a technique called wet on wet. So I practiced with it a little bit the other day, and this is what I came up with. Wet on wet. So you get your paper wet, and then you play around with blending the colors a little bit. So here, it didn't quite come through. I used the pink and the yellow, and I was hoping to get a little bit of an orangey in the middle. It didn't quite happen that way. This was just like the first try, just to figure out the brush strokes, that kind of thing. Here I am blending several different colors. Not my favorite. But, you know, the more you play around with it, I figure the better, the better the outcome you will have. And then that last little one that I was hiding, I was just kind of playing around. I started out by blending the browns and the purples, and then I just kind of played around with blending this yellow and green, and then thought, let me make it into a tree. And then I took the brown afterwards in a darker shade and made the tree trunks and the branches. So it's just playing around. So we're going to do some of that today, play around on wet on wet. You'll also need a couple of jars. If you've got any kind of glass jars in your kitchen, you might want to start collecting them. These are jelly jars that I got from the local farmer's market. My sister and I also often go down there and get the strawberry. This is strawberry jam that was in here. So it's nice to have these glass jars. You want one for clean water, one for dirty water. Oh, this was apple butter, guys. Apple butter. Okay, so we got dirty, we've got clean. And if you guys are diamond painters, save these green boats. These are good for mixing as well. And then you're going to need a paper towel, which you can reuse. This one I used yesterday to play around with, and I'm going to reuse it today. You don't have to keep changing up your paper towel. And of course, you can't do any kind of craft without a nice hot cup of coffee. Yes, this one says, believe in the journey. Of course, my name is Crafting Journey, and this is my watercoloring journey. Oh, that's delicious. I put some M&M creamer into that today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper, and this is something in part 2 that I tried, and I thought it was kind of a neat way to do this. I don't understand how this paper comes. We're just going to go to this paper here. I've got this piece of paper out. I'm going to cut it into 4 squares. And they don't have to be exact, you know, we're just playing around here. So I'm just going to cut it into 4. And so that it doesn't slide around on my drafting table, I am going to tape that to the desk. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that. You know, being a diamond painter, we always have washi tape around, except for right now because I can't find it. No, here it is. So I'm going to use this washi tape, and it seemed to work beautifully when I did it on these yesterday. It leaves you with kind of a frame where the watercolor doesn't penetrate where the tape is. So plus it holds it down onto your surface. So let's get it this way. Because you don't want your paper sliding around on the surface. You can, of course, you can leave it in the book if you want, but I thought I'd do it this way, just to show you guys a different way of doing things. So then you're going to take your washi tape and just kind of tape that down there. So today, this is going to be wet on wet, so I'm going to get a couple of brushes that hold, one that holds a good amount of paint, good amount of water, and that would be my larger 3/4 inch brush, and then a smaller brush to just kind of blend it. So the first thing I'm going to do is dip that into the clean water. And then I'm going to start here and just get the paper wet. We haven't dipped it into the paint. Then I'm going to take my second brush, dip that into the clean water. We're going to go with I think this dark midnight blue here, see what we can do with that today. And I'm going to do it into the palette. I'm just going to keep adding more paint until I get it as dark as I want. Now when you're mixing the paints, the pigments with the water in your palette, the palette is always going to look darker than what it looks on the actual piece of paper. Now I don't want the paper to dry, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to just run that here. I'm going to go downwards with it instead of across, because I kind of want to play with it a little bit. And I don't have like anything in mind. My mind is just going wherever it wants to go. Whatever I feel like painting, that's what I'm painting. All right, so there is my top layer. I'm going to clean my brush off there. And then we're going to go with a yellow, which is a contrasting color. All right, clean my brush out. Go with a yellow. There's the yellow here. Just get that yellow paint wet. Dip it into the palette. I'm going to keep adding pigment until I get the color that I want. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing from the bottom. That's a beautiful, beautiful color yellow. Then I'm going to put that in the dirty water, get a cup of coffee. Guys, yours does not have to look like mine. It looks like whatever you want it to look like. What we're doing here is just playing around with what you're going to experience on a wet piece of paper by adding wet and then blending your colors. So what I'm going to blend now is I'm just going to take some of that water and just kind of pull down from the blue. And then pull up from the yellow. And if you're screaming at me right now, oh, you're doing it wrong, there's no wrong way, guys. And I may figure out in days and years to come that, yeah, I did it wrong. But, you know, this is part of the learning process. I'm just taking that water from the clean water and I'm mixing the paints in together, blending them together, just to see what I can come up with. Putting some more yellow on here. clean my brush off. Just do some more blending. Then after this dries, we can come back in after the paper dries, and you will see the paper kind of lift a little bit because it's very wet. So after this dries, we can come in and do some more blending if we want. We can add some finer details, or we can just leave it the way it is. So I'm going to clean the brush. We're going to go to the second paper. First, I want to get the palette wet. I think that might have been a mistake to begin with. I know you can buy like a spritzer and just kind of spritz and get your colors wet. I have not bought a spritzer yet, so we're going to get these colors wet just by flicking the water. Of course, that's what they say you can do. Flicking the water like that. And it seems to be getting some of the water onto that pigment. Ooh, this is my favorite color. Let's use this one. All right. Now, I'm just going to play around here. First, I totally forgot. First, we got to get the paper wet, right? All right, let's get the paper wet. Taking my 3/4 brush, which holds a lot of water. We're going to get that paper nice and wet. And then I'm going to take that aqua that I just pulled up, and I'm just going to kind of play around with it. I'm just going to make a circle. That's kind of cool. I like the way that it's picking the water up and then kind of spreading from the center. That's a pretty cool detail. I'm going to pick up some more of that pigment. I'm going to come over here, do it again. I'm going to do one here. Ooh, pretty. Then I'm going to clean my brush. It almost has like the feel of it, like I'm getting this lollipop vibe from this. The paper's really wet here. So let me see if I can pick up some of that water and get it off there. You can take your clean brush and try to get some of the water off. So I'm going to go into that dark blue and put it on my palette, the dark blue. Put it on my palette here. Then I'm going to take some water, blend that in. I want it to be light, like a sky, you know, like a skyline. And remember, what's in your palette's always going to be darker than what's going to go on your painting. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of go across the top. Like that. Clean my brush. Make sure between cleaning your brush in the dirty water and before you put it into the clean water, you want to wipe it on that paper towel. Now I'm going to go into the gray, I think. And what I want to do with the gray is just kind of Put a lollipop stick there, like right here. And right here. Right here. I don't know. The trees, lollipops, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and add some more stuff. So apparently we got some pigment over here. Let's just play around with it since we messed with it. Let's take our large brush. We're going to wet the whole piece of paper with that pigment. Why not? We don't want to waste it, right? We'll come up with something, won't we? Right now it just looks like a finger. Just looks like a finger. All right, I'm going to let that dry. See if we can fix that. Like I said, this is the cool thing about watercolors. You know, like there are no mistakes. Just, you know, happy little paintings. All right, I don't know. I don't have you as an audience, so I don't know what colors you want me to go with next. Oh, how about pink? Let's do pink. Okay, we're going to get that wet. We're going to get, because we're doing wet on wet technique. So we're going to get this paper wet. Stop for some coffee. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. What do we want to do with this pink? Oh, I have an idea. Let's just play around with some shapes. Let's see. We could say C for crafting journey. And J, crafting journey. We could put like a little bubble there. Clean off the brushes. I think, what other color should, oh, maybe black. Black's a cool color, huh? I haven't done any black lately. Let's do some black. I'm going to mix that in the palette because that black is really dark. Really dark. You're like, Rebecca, what are you making? I don't know. Whatever comes out here, that's what I'm making. Okay, let's just go here, 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 and here. Don't know what it's going to be. No idea. But yeah, we'll see. I think what I'm going to do is we'll clean the brush first of all. Take my other brush, dip in the clean water, and then I'm just going to kind of, what do I want to do? Just run that across like that. Okay, no idea why I'm doing that. No idea. All right, let's go to the bottom one here. It's probably a little bit drier now. Got to get some of that black out of my brush. Probably should have done the black lightest to darkest, everybody. Do your black last. Okay. Let's do some orange. We haven't had any orange. And we're just going to kind of follow that down. Just do some squigglies. All right, let's clean that off. Now I'm going to go into, I'm just going to take some wet and just kind of follow that. That's pretty cool, I guess. Oh, I know what I could do. I think. Let's see if it'll... Oh, let's do some red. Let's do some red. And we'll just kind of take the red, go like that. Pretty. Very pretty and very psychedelic. All right, let's come back over to our lollipops and what I wanted to do with those, because it's probably just sort of a semi-wet at this point. I'm going to take the pink and just kind of boy, imagine what this will be like when I get good at it. Instead of just playing around. Who knows? Oh, that's pretty. I like that. And the other thing I thought I would do here, take the white. I was trying to think of a reason to use the white, but this seems like a good enough reason. Just go in here. I don't know. Looks kind of like worms, doesn't it? Oh my word. Oh my lanta. All right. That's all I'm going to do with that. I think my jars are kind of dirty at this point. All right, let's just do one more idea that I have here. I'm going to take... gray, I think. We're going to go with gray. We're going to mix it into that blue. Why not? what I'm doing is I had some blue on the color palette. I'm going to put some here. And I'm going to mix some gray here as well. And then what I'm going to do is just come across this. I don't have quite enough water on my brush. See, this is what I'm trying to get used to, is like how much water do we need on the brush. So it's not really an exact science. That's kind of cool looking. All right, guys, I'm done playing for today. So this is wet on wet. I'm going to let my palette dry. You can wipe this out with a paper towel if you want, or you can just leave this here, and then the next time you come in, you can re-wet that and use it again. So I'm going to let those dry. I'm going to clean out my jars for the next time. And I hope you had a good time watching the video. I hope you give this a try yourself. Like I said, it's not an exact science. I'm not an expert by any means. Just sit and play with it and have fun. Bye, everybody. Take care.